Hello gardening friend, it is January and it's time for our first garden tour of the year. So let's get down to the garden, turn the camera around, and we'll see what's growing. Even though it's January and it's cold. Ooh. Here's a view from the bottom side. You can see my blueberry bush has some buds on it. There's my largest fig tree. You can see it has figs there on the top that didn't have time to mature. So I'm gonna cut that one down pretty low so it'll have a lot of energy to put into growing this year. Right, here's some nice big arugula plants. When they get this big, they get a little bit strong tasting, almost like a radish. And I got some garlic plants growing here. Here's another spot where I got some arugula growing. And I also have some, this is a lemon that I planted. It's not even getting killed yet. We've had a few nights that have gotten down in the 20s, but we haven't had any days yet this year that have stayed under freezing for the whole day. Right, here's a few onions. We took our sand out of our sandbox, and I'm gonna go ahead and use that, mix with the soil when I'm planting some things. If you didn't see my harvest video for the black coat beans, it'll probably show up on your end screen, or you can just go to my channel to see the video. I did a short video on it, so it's only a 1-minute video. Let's see, I harvested some of these beans. The black coat beans are a Scarlet runner bean, and they are a nice big bean. Here's my goji berry bush. It lost its leaves for the winter, and I think I'm going to pull this out because I'm not happy with my goji berries. They don't taste good, they don't get very big. I don't know if I just have the wrong cultivar, the wrong species, or if it's not in a good spot, but they just really don't taste very good. So if anyone has any wisdom on that, let me know in the comments or message me. Right, here is some Jerusalem artichokes that I put here at the end of this trellis where I had my tomatoes this year. And they did very well there. That is probably up 10 or 12 feet, and the stalks are super thick. So I'll have to dig up and see what kind of tubers we have under there. Here's some of my square foot beds. Got some Daikon radish here. Oh, and here is a French breakfast radish. The French breakfast didn't do very well. I think the Daikon radishes sort of crowded them out. But I can get a little bite out of that. Yeah, that was good. Okay, here's some broccoli. It hasn't gone to heads yet, but we still got time for that as long as it doesn't get super cold. There's a bed that has some spinach in it. And here's an empty bed. I think I'm going to go ahead and put some onions out in this. Look at my garden soil making this square foot bed have fungus growing on it already. That's amazing. It's got some good fungus growing. Great, I do have some arugula. I threw a bunch of seeds over here. So most of the green in this area is arugula growing. Probably when the weather warms up, it'll start really growing. Here's some beets I have along this little fence here. There's some beets. My daughter likes juicing beets. She likes the earthy flavor. Right, Deanna? Hey, here's some raspberry plants. They still have some leaves on. Thinking about getting some more raspberry plants put in here because they're sort of thin at the moment. Here's where my Malabar spinach was. You can see all the seeds in here. I haven't planted Malabar spinach for quite a few years because the seeds just drop down and new plants sprout up in the springtime. They've been doing really well that way. Right, here is some premier kale. It's a nice kale. I like the way the leaves are so nice and flat on this kale. This is some comfrey. I have a few comfrey plants that are still growing. Let me show you what I did with my strawberries this year. I put a nice layer of mulch over the strawberries. So the idea of that is that the strong strawberries are going to sprout up through there. Here's some other broccoli. This one has a nice little head down there. So that one we could go ahead and pick and eat at any point. You can also pick these leaves to eat too. I'm getting a little bit of breakfast here as we go. I did pick one of the heads on one of these plants. Let's look at this other plant over here. Oh yeah, that has a little head starting there too. You can see it right there. And this one here has a tiny little head starting. Oh yeah. There's a couple more daikons there. Some more premier kale over here. Just a little tiny row. And some more arugula that I planted late in the year. Parsley. I love to eat some parsley anytime I'm walking by. Some dinosaur kale. That's beautiful. There's another lemongrass that's died from the cold. This is the dandelion. I believe it's an Italian dandelion that is alive still. Oh look, I think this is some cilantro over here. I'm getting quite a little breakfast here. Yep, that was definitely cilantro. Here's some bloody dock. It always does well in the winter time. I don't know if I've showed you guys recently why they call it bloody dock. But when you take a stem and you squish it, it has a red juice that comes out. And my grandkids like to chew it up in their mouths and let it dribble down their cheek and tell grandma they got hurt. That's why it's called bloody dock. It's a sorrel that doesn't really have a whole lot of flavor. It is pretty good for you, I guess. Here's some more. Well, those must be those giant red radishes that should have been harvested if I was going to eat them. You can still harvest the greens for the bunnies. Here's my Deanna Fig that I grafted onto this unknown variety. It actually got a little bit of a fig there at the tip of it before it got too cold. So I'm hoping that this Deanna Fig is going to grow this year and get some figs that we'll be able to harvest. Over here I planted a bunch of arugula as well. Look at that whole row of arugula. Growing really well. Here's some horseradish. Usually you do harvest this in the winter time, so you get a nice good flavor out of it. This is where I planted my fall cover crop. So it had a lot of beans growing. You can see the bean pods here, and that's all just gonna compost down into the soil. I also planted some other things in there that looks like they haven't really come up, but the beans were doing really well before they got cold, so they'll compost down in and provide some nitrogen to the soil here. Look how these blackberries still have blooms on them. I mean, there's some that are sort of messed up from the cold. It even had blackberries on here pretty late in the year, but it has even some new blooms on. So blackberries are pretty tough. If you want to have something fresh, some fruit in the garden in the winter, think about growing persimmon. This is a Fuyo Asian persimmon, grafted, and I got it from Stark Brothers. And it had only had two on it this year. It's a new tree, fairly new tree. This is second year, I believe. But look at that persimmon. I already harvested one and we ate it. They start getting soft and ready to harvest when it is in the middle of the winter. So it's a great crop if you want some fresh fruit in the winter. And they taste nice and sweet. The thing that surprised me about this persimmon is that it doesn't have any seeds in it like the American persimmon, because the wild persimmon that I am familiar with around here is totally full of seeds, and this has no seeds in it, so you can slice it. I'm gonna go ahead and do a video where I harvest this and eat some, and I might put some in the dehydrator to see what that does, because people say that it really concentrates the sweetness when you dry them out. I'm gonna go ahead and put up here, I'll put an end screen that will have the garden tour in a 1-minute hashtag shorts video. So take the minute and look at that and see if you enjoy it that way, and let me know. Or if you like this longer version, let me know that too. And over here I'll put a video that YouTube says you will like. I promise it. YouTube promises, Google promises it. What more can you ask for? Okay guys, what I would really like for you to do is to like my video. So like it, like it, like it. And if you don't like this video, if you don't like it, give me a really strong message and hit that button 3 times. All right, have a blessed day. We'll see you again real soon.